In the vast universe of Star Wars, the Sith have always held a mysterious allure. Masters of the dark side of the Force, their presence looms large over the galaxy's history. But do you wonder how the first Sith Lord came about? Hello my friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today we will look and unravel the history of the first person to cross to the dark side of the Force. This all started in the First Great Schism. The First Great Schism resulted from a split between the Jedi that followed more of the traditional practices of the Force and a group of Jedi that had been studying different methods of utilizing the Force. This led to a war between the two groups in which the outcome came in the form of the Jedi winning against a group of the heretic Jedi. After the events of the Great Schism, an individual who came to be known as Ajunta Pall had been born and was strong with the Force. He had begun learning alchemy and eventually learned how to create life itself. After seeing this power that Ajunta had shown, the Jedi High Council was appalled by this and ended up deeming this practice to be forbidden and not allowing Ajunta to teach this to his followers. Ajunta became angry with the council and what he believed to be a decision of arrogance. He and his followers then declared war on the Jedi Order. This act initiated the Second Great Schism, a century-long war known as the 100-Year Darkness. Despite the power that Ajunta and his followers had, the Jedi still prevailed in this conflict. Ajunta and his followers were captured and exiled beyond space occupied by the Republic. Upon being exiled, Ajunta Pall and his followers searched for a planet that they deemed habitable for them to live. After searching through the systems, they landed on a planet known as Korriban. Korriban was a remote desert planet located within the Outer Rim. They found living on this planet a species that had quite a connection to the Force and were known as the Sith. The Sith had red-colored skin with face tendrils. While the Sith were strong in trying to resist the exiles that landed on their planet from taking over and trying to acquire what secret knowledge they had of the Force, they were no match for the fallen Jedi, as the Jedi were far stronger. With Ajunta and his dark Jedi followers being triumphant and taken over, the Sith quickly went on to fall and worship them like gods. On Korriban, Ajunta Pall was considered special for a specific reason. He was left-handed. To the Kisai, priests in the Sith's caste system worship a god named Tovajin, who happened to be left-handed as well. The Kisai treated Ajunta as a manifestation of their god. He was referred to as the Jin-Ari, or when translated meaning Dark Lord. The former Jedi Master Ajunta Pall had now become the first ever Dark Lord of the Sith. He then went on to form the first Sith Empire, expanding it to other worlds beyond Korriban. Ajunta Pall went on to rule and for decades expanded the Sith Empire. Ajunta would later then pass, but his empire would continue without him. He was buried on Korriban in a tomb later known as the Valley of the Dark Lords. What makes Ajunta interesting is that his death wasn't the end of his story. You see, his studies in alchemy and on creating life and sustaining it gave him the ability to bind his spirit to the physical world. His essence would now remain within his tomb for centuries to come. During this time, Ajunta would go on to study the Sith Lords that would come after him. Throughout his studies of the Sith Lords that followed, he began to notice that with each downfall of these Sith, it was always at the hands of one another. With this realization, Ajunta thought deeply about the actions that he made while he was still living and ultimately began feeling regret and remorse for his decision in creating the Sith. Millennia after Ajunta's death, during the Jedi Civil War, an undercover Sith apprentice in the form of a Jedi Knight known as Revan had gone to Ajunta's tomb to retrieve his sword. This sword that Ajunta had taken while he was alive from the Sith species king and claimed it as his own was buried within him deep within his tomb. Revan had needed access to an ancient artifact called the Star Map, but to gain access to it, Revan needed to gain prestige from the Sith Academy that resided on Korriban. He hoped that retrieving this sword would grant him that prestige that he needed. But before Revan could actually acquire the sword, Ajunta himself appeared before Revan and would speak to him about the disappointment and regret that he felt about the actions he made as a Sith Lord while he was still alive. He would explain that he no longer blamed the Jedi anymore for the destruction that the Sith Empire would meet regularly. He had ultimately regretted his actions and the role that he played in the creation of their empire. Revan takes the sword and ends up convincing Ajunta Pall to return back to the light side of the Force. Ajunta let go of all of his hate and pain that he felt and would then become one with the Force, letting his spirit finally rest in peace. Anyway, my friends, what did you think of today's video covering the first ever Sith Lord? Do you want to see more content like this? Well, let us know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, may the Force be with you.